with so few friends to turn to. What a time it's been through all the years gone by. A nation's bravery marks the book of history. What a time it's been. We came 100 years ago through rivers and through rain, 1,000 miles of dreaming and 1,000 miles of pain. We came upon a country as fine as any land, where a man could shape the future with his hand. Our towns had small beginnings, they were all that we could use. We had no need for fancy clothes and sometimes none for shoes. We came here rough and ready, and here we made a stand, where a man could shape the future with his hands. And often I remember, and oft times I recall, the nights we danced beneath the lights of the old town market hall, when Kingsway was a river and the hotel was the Grand, and a man could shape the future with his hands. We dug into the soil with our backs against the sun, and we found the roots of something that had only just begun. We found gold and we found silver and the wide tobacco lands, where a man could shape the future with his hands. Then the railways came along, breathing life into the towns, and the rhythms that they gave us somehow made a different sound. And the children started learning to live the dream we'd planned, where a man could shape the future with his hands. And the tribesmen that we found here were different in their ways, but they helped us build the nation that we're sharing here today. There was much to teach each other and much to understand, and the people shaped the future with their hands. The people brought their cultures in a dozen different ways, and Britain held the reins on this maverick that she'd raised. So when the world was torn by war, we went to take our stand. Our young men placed their futures in her hands. When the Great War gave our men back from the death across the seas, we had bought the right to govern by the year of 23. 2 million pounds was what it cost to lead this growing land, where a man could shape his future with his hands.
That's true, you know. Rhodesia was the only British colony ever to have to pay for the right of self-government. But though life wasn't always easy, we faced the days ahead with a typical optimism.
Golden days, growing days, nothing had us worried then. Living had a special taste, we were happy way back when. You could take a chance on a motor car ride, or stop for a picnic in the countryside, 'cause they were golden days, growing days, nothing had us worried then. Working days and working nights to make a little country strong. Putting in an honest day, making sure that we belonged. Well, things were tough, but what the heck, you could always survive until the next paycheck, 'cause they were working days and working nights to make a little country strong. Tobacco days, tobacco ways, ways to make the farmlands pay. Learning fast, we were unsurpassed at growing things a better way. Well, they called us the grain bin of the continent, and Africa stood back and watched in wonderment. Tobacco days and ways of maize, ways to make the farmlands pay.
All this growing paused for a spell with the coming of the Second World War.
Flying days, dying days, we were doing our share then. Across the sea for liberty, giving all our bravest men. They were flying high in foreign skies. Some were never going to see the next sunrise. Flying days, dying days, we were doing our share then. Election days, rejection days, brought about by winds of change. And tighten up your belts, they said, now's the time to rearrange. And finally we stood alone, we were going to make it on our own. The future was a different place, brought about by winds of change.
No change in anybody's attitude.
Allows them to declare to other nations the causes which impel them to assume full responsibility for their own affairs, and seeking to promote the common good so that the dignity and freedom of all men may be assured, do, by this proclamation, adopt, enact, and give to the people of Rhodesia the Constitution annexed hereto. God save the Queen.
What a time it was, with so few friends to turn to. What a time it was, when all we did seemed wrong. We'd broken all our bonds and the battle plan was drawn. What a time it was. 1965, the year of UDI. Who'd have thought the country would survive or stay alive? The UN made us outcasts, and the British said we couldn't last, that we would fall when the oil did not arrive. Now I don't say we were right, and I don't say we were wrong. I'm just trying to tell it like it was in simple song. You see, when people love their homeland, they regard it as their own land, and they fight whether they're right or they are wrong. What a time it was, with all the world against us. What a time it was, not all we did was wrong. We'd broken all our bonds, but life kept going on. What a time it was. 1966 saw some ocean politics, when two men climbed a tiger to have talks about the talks. They talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked some more. The negotiations ended in deadlock.
As you will no doubt have guessed, ladies and gentlemen, the fight goes on.
And in 1968, there was another great debate, this time aboard the Fearless, but the end was much the same. November saw a new flag raised while the people prayed for better days, and hope was still the surname of the game. And in 1970, our republic came to be. Solutions seemed to fly a little further out of reach. But the next year through the gloom came Sir Alec Douglas Hume, and it seemed they'd found a way across the breach. So in early 72, Lord Pierce and his retinue arrived to put the nation to a test that they had planned. But still it seemed the plan was bad, no better than the last they'd had, and knows the word we heard across the land. What a time it was, with all the world against us. What a time it was, when all we did seemed wrong. We'd broken all our bonds and the battle plan was drawn. What a time it was. 1975, and Mr. Forster had arrived with President Kaunda for some talks across the falls. But nothing there could be resolved. The problem still was too involved, and the impetus slowed down until it stalled. 1976 was when cosmopolitics finally put pressure on the players in the game. Kissinger's proposals were broadcast to the nation, with one man and one vote the final aim. Well, Geneva should have sealed it, but instead it just revealed that all the players in the game were poles apart. Well, they had to find a way to start again another day, with all prepared to take a peaceful part. What a time it was, with all the world against us. What a time it was, when all we did seemed wrong. We'd broken all our bonds, and the battle carried on. What a time it was. Now in 1978, while the rest still vacillate, we found a way to work it out within the land. Never mind the rest, what we're doing's for the best, and all we want is a peace we understand. There'll be votes for all the folks, and with sanctions gone we hope to rebuild this little country to a proud and single nation. We've got to end this dreadful war. We found what we've been fighting for. Will the world wake up and stop this conflagration? What a time it's been, so few friends to turn to. What a time it's been, when all we did seemed wrong. We're trying to put things right, but the battle still goes on. What a time it's been. If the world had another Hitler, then where'd they go this time? Would they stand aside and let him roll on through? Or would they keep their smug expressions, or hide trembling in the dark, while some little country stood and fought for truth? And yet the world attacks my country for keeping her people free, with all the brave young men that she can find. There's 30,000 heroes stand to fight the Russian tide, and will no one come and fight here by their side? Well, it's only 40 years or so since Britain gave the call, and without a question, we fought by her side. Will the battle that we're fighting be the one that history marks as the day when British honor finally died? And yet the world attacks my country for keeping her people free, with all the brave young men that she can find. There's 30,000 heroes stand to fight the Russian tide, and will no one come and fight here by their side, by their side. And if another Joseph Stalin or his old Big Daddy Mark should raise their heads in America the free, would those down-home folks stand while the hammer and the sickle flew above the flame that burns on liberty? They forget about the evil that lies rampant and raging in their homes. They forget about the ghettos and the busing and the Indian people that they try and disown. Is it any wonder that we gag on the sanctimonious junk they tried to feed us through the barrel of a gun? Oh. while the nations scrap and scramble for this piece of land we own. Do they ever stop to think of where it leads? 'Cause this battle's not the last one, and we're only stepping stones. And finally, democracy will bleed.
These counterinsurgency operations, or as they're commonly but wrongly called, the war, have been going on for some time now. The present series started 5.5 years ago, following other counterinsurgency operations. During that time, they've escalated, both in the requirement of people involved in the war, people involved in commerce and industry supporting the war.
The war situation, of course, has put a great strain, not only on families, but on business and the economy in general. The foreign exchange situation we are having, and it's no secret, to spend a lot of money on the war as such. Many businesses have gone to the wall, but frankly, there is no alternative, and so we are going to stick it out. If in fact we're going to benefit from the experience that we've had under sanctions, then we must at some stage come back into an open economic environment. Given that situation, I am completely optimistic about the Rhodesian businessman's ability. After all, if we look at the facts straight in the face, the Rhodesian businessman has taken on everything that the world can throw at him and has come through. Looking back with the benefit of hindsight, some of the politicians who imposed sanctions on us would not have done so readily had they realized that they were in fact inviting our economy to diversify so quickly and so magnificently. Rhodesia is due to become the jewel of Africa. We have the best of everything. And together, black and white are going to work and create this jewel of Africa.
Over the last 14 years, the industry in this country has expanded in a kind of industrial revolution. Not all the stories have been success, because industry is a very complicated and very diverse in this country now, and very, very sophisticated. And it has taken a great deal of ingenuity and extremely hard work and know-how to bring industry to the point where we are at present. Of course, if we do reach a settlement, which I am confident we shall, then things will go ahead here reasonably quickly. We can't expect to be in an enormous boom or anything of this kind, but the opportunities for all the people, black and white, will be enormous. And our task will be to close the economic gap, and for the Europeans, instead of being the entrepreneurs, as they have been, it will be to teach their black counterparts how to do it, so that everyone in this country can have a very good future indeed.
Our major agricultural production actually is basically cattle, maize, tobacco and cotton. Those are the big four. Sugar is not far behind them, and then we've got all the other productions, for example, wheat, barley, pig production, dairy, coffee, tea. This has come about in a surprisingly short space of time, and one, in fact, which has been dependent on the creativeness of the Rhodesian farmer. Very typically in this country, you will find that the farmer on his land, or his father or his grandfather, who has actually created his whole farm from virgin bush. And of course it is that sense of creativeness and the very long-term nature of his business that has given him such a sense of stability and has provided this country with the stability that's been necessary, particularly in the last 15 years. We have got wonderful resources in this country, and as a result of this, in the last 12 years, we've actually increased our agricultural production by 182%. Now, of course, the potential continues to be enormous. What we are seeking is obviously security in terms of our tenure, law and order, but if these can be achieved, the success with the removal of sanctions would be quite phenomenal. I can see, in fact, our agricultural production increasing by at least 4 times the current rate, which would put us in a class of our own in Africa. The opportunities for everybody, and particularly on a free enterprise system for all farmers, farmers of all races, would provide them the opportunities as we've had for the sort of production that is going to be necessary to feed this country and indeed those countries around us. Rhodesia is a country which has a tremendous amount to offer the traveller, whether he's the tourist from overseas, the visitor from across our borders, or in fact the Rhodesian himself. The industry has survived through difficult times, and this is a credit not only to what we have to offer in the natural state, but particularly a credit to the people involved in the industry. We have big hotels, big hotel chains, we have small hotels, we have hunting companies, touring companies, we have air services, water services, all of which have streamlined their management, streamlined their operations, and in fact, at 3 to 4 weeks' notice, would be able to cope with a tremendous increase in tourism back into Rhodesia. And this is what the industry is looking forward to. They have a tremendous sense of optimism that the necessary conditions for a prosperous tourist industry will once again return, and then within a few weeks we'll be back in full swing again.
The whole theme of this war has swung right round. It started as a small border control exercise. It progressed through insurgency and counterinsurgency until now we have the position where the government forces and the people, as represented in the Salisbury Agreement, are the freedom fighters. We have to fight on to preserve the freedom of our right to live in a democratic style. And what do we want? What are we actually fighting for? I reckon it's because we want a thriving and independent economy, which means jobs and prosperity for everybody. Homes, schools, universities, apprenticeships for young men of all colours. It means shops and stores with prices competitive and therefore kept low. It means clothes, and it means enough food every single day. It means hospitals, clinics, and other health services properly run. It means a lack of corruption in public services. It means leisure when it's been earned. It means peace and tranquility. This country we are fighting to keep as a real home for all of us of all colours.
May the mountains standing by you ever guard you, and the rivers wash your spirit bright and clean. May the animals and birds sing of the peace that is to come, and of the glory of a land that might have been. May God be with you and keep you strong. May your tomorrows be rich and long. May the lives that you have taken be for reason, and the pain that you have suffered make you strong. May the seeds that have been sown bring out the fullness of the future. May God give you the strength to right your wrongs. It's just a dream, I know, but dreams set you free. Dreaming can ease your mind and bring you peace. May the sweetness of your soil yet bring you riches, and your pastures ever fill your belly's needs. May the nations that you harbor find a way to live as one. Keep your standards high and not give way to greed. May God be with you and keep you strong.